This is the CO2, I can't ever pronounce this word, sequestration bill. Basically, we're capturing CO2. We passed a bill last year, and what this does is it sets additional guidelines for the Oil and Gas Board to set rules for this program. This is something that we're probably going to be working on for the next couple of years. But there's only 3 major pipelines in the U.S. One of them happens to be in Mississippi. Mississippi set up to capture the CO2, and like I said, all this does is helps the Oil and Gas Board continue to set rules. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Questions on the bill? Questions on it. Senator McDaniel, for what purpose?
Question, Mr. President.
Do you yield Senator Carter?
I do.
Senator McDaniel, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Chairman, just a couple of questions. The first of which, I'm trying to determine whether your love for recycling is equal to your love for CO2, or is this?
I don't drink much soft drinks, so I don't think I'm a big CO2 fan. But.
All right, not a serious question. Is there, does this enlarge or somehow expand any eminent domain powers the state has?
It doesn't expand it, but it addresses it when you in respect to mineral rights. And so there's language in here that says basically there'll be a process for a good faith effort that whenever they're trying to establish these pipelines, that to make sure that there's a process to deal with these mineral right owners in good faith and make sure they're taken care of.
I understand. I think that's probably my primary concern. If the mineral right owners refuse access and then they're made an offer in the private market and they say no to the offer in the private market, then the state would have the power under this bill to then claim those mineral rights.
Right.
Okay. Good deal. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Senator McDaniel. Senator Hill, for what purpose seek recognition?
Question.
Were you for a question, Senator?
I do.
Please proceed, Senator Hill.
Can you explain this to me? Because I did not really understand your answer to Senator McDaniel. If you're looking at the short title on lines 18, actually 17 and 18, it says to revise the eminent domain law for pipelines. Please quit moving it. For pipelines and appliances to grant the right of eminent domain to entities for the purpose of transporting or conveying carbon dioxide and other gaseous substances in connection with the geologic sequestration of carbon dioxide and other gaseous substances and any associated carbon capture and geologic sequestration projects. So I go back to line 17. To grant the right of eminent domain to entities for the purpose of transporting. So it apparently is granting a new right of eminent domain, or the short title's wrong, one or the other. Maybe.
It's granting the right. I'm trying to find the language right here. It's where so we had an issue. That's why we have a committee sub between 2 different companies in respect to this issue right here. Right here, yeah. Ask me that question one more time.
Okay, I think you answered Senator McDaniel that this is not granting the right of eminent domain, but line 17 says provide laws for pipelines and appliances to grant the right of eminent domain to entities for the purpose of transporting or conveying carbon dioxide and other gaseous substances in connection with the geologic sequestration of CO2 and other gaseous substances and any associated carbon capture and geologic sequestration facility projects. Now, my concern is we have an eminent domain initiative that we passed that basically says eminent domain would not be granted for any private individual or private company, that it would have to be something in the public domain. I don't see this as being public. It looks private to me. it looks to me like that would benefit whatever company's contracting to sequester the carbon dioxide. Am I correct?
Correct.
So this would be in conflict with the resolution with the amendment that we passed, maybe?
I can't answer that question. I wasn't here when y'all did that, so I'm not familiar
I
with
mean,
that.
that Farm Bureau had all the drive to have that passed several years ago, but it looks like to me this would be expanding eminent domain for a private company that would get the contract for carbon dioxide sequestration to be able to go over or under somebody's property for private gain or private enrichment. It's what it looks to me like. I mean, somebody else might can read it and come up with something different, but that's kind of what I come up with. I just wondered if you could confirm that.
Well, it's for the transport of CO2.
And that's not the government transporting CO2, that's private company, right?
It is.
Thank you.
Senator Sojourner, for what purpose you seek recognition?
A question.
Will you yield, Senator?
I do.
Senator Sojourner, recognized.
Thank you, Senator Carter. I think Senator Hill hit on the last part, finally got to the question that I really had. But just to clarify, because it's a lot of words and a lot of language, the bill does grant the use eminent domain to gain access to the pipeline, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and to be clear, when we use eminent domain, we are using the force of the government to take what may be my property. And even if I don't want to give it away, the government can still compel me to do so, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And just to clarify one more time, I think this is what Senator Hill hit on, this pipeline is not owned by the state of Mississippi. It is owned by private companies. So the bill would grant them the ability to take my property if they so choose, if I didn't want them to.
This part does.
Okay, thank you.
CO2 capture is a huge opportunity for the state of Mississippi. It's part of the Biden administration's initiatives, and we'd be missing out on a big opportunity if we not continue to set rules for this, for the state.
Okay. Any other questions? Any other questions? Senator McDaniel, for what purpose?
Question, Mr. President.
You for a question, Senator Carter.
I do.
Please proceed, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Chairman, any chance, is there a reverse repealer in here? Do you have one?
There is not currently a reverse repealer in the bill.
Would you be adverse to one if we offered it, just so we could try to figure out what these powers are granted and to whom they're granted? Would that be okay?
I think that would be just fine.
Okay, thank you. This time, Mr. President, I have an amendment at the proper time. Chairman has no objection.
Thank you, Senator. If you provide your amendment to the Secretary of the Senate, and we'll ask for other questions. Other questions? Seeing none, we'll wait for just a moment on the amendment.
I move
One
to
moment,
adopt the committee
Senator
sub.
Horn. Senator Horn, for what purpose?
Question.
Please, who are you for a question, Senator Carter?
I do.
Senator Horn, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Carter. Senator Carter, isn't it true that private utilities already have a right of eminent domain?
They do.
And and what we're doing is putting the carbon dioxide sequestration as another eligible item under eminent domain. Is that correct?
Correct. Look, what we're dealing with here is mineral rights was what it all comes down to. I mean, you know, in the state of Mississippi, mineral rights can be conveyed, can be passed on for generations and generations. It's very hard to find out who the owner of mineral rights. I sell real estate for a living. A lot of time, you doing title work, you can't even find out who owns the minerals, so they don't convey. And this is just the language of the eminent domain that they're concerned about. We're just trying to, in good faith, find out who the mineral right owners are. If we can't, use eminent domain to continue the pipeline to where we can take advantage of the CO2 capture.
And would you agree that this bill will help in terms of job creation and economic development?
100%.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. I think we're on the committee, Senator Hill, for what purpose?
I just have one more question.
One question, Senator Carter. You?
I yield.
Thank you. I understand when we're dealing with oil and gas, we're talking about mineral rights, but we're not talking about oil and gas. We're talking about piping CO2 down into the ground. So I really don't even see where mineral rights would come into play with this. This would have to be surface rights or just right to run a pipe through somebody's property or underground, because we're not really dealing with minerals. We're dealing with sequestering carbon dioxide out of the air.
I stand corrected. I meant to say surface rights.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hill. Okay, we're ready for a motion on the committee substitutes. Senator Carter.
Maybe we adopt the committee sub.
Motion to adopt the committee substitute. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. And now we're ready on the amendment. Senator McDaniel, you're recognized to explain your amendment.
I know Senator Carter's worked hard on this, and we are not trying to frustrate his efforts, just trying to understand the ramifications of it. We already have pipelines. We already have various entities that utilize the power of eminent domain, but for whatever reason, we're expanding that power here. It's not clear yet to whom or exactly why, although it appears to be private actors. And if it is a private actor, that's perhaps impermissible, but it should at the very least be highly questionable. Since there are some unanswered questions, and Senator Hill addressed those as well, and thankfully the senator doesn't have any objections to this, I would just offer a reverse repealer.
Thank you. Senator Carter, you're recognized to speak. On the amendment, Senator Carter.
I'm not opposed to the amendment. I'd support it.
Thank you. You want to make the motion, please?
Maybe to adopt the amendment.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. On the bill, Senator.
I move passage on the morning roll call.
Senator's requested utilization of morning roll call. Anyone object to procedure? Wish to be, of course, voting no. McDaniel, Williams, Tate, McClendon, Johnson, McMahon, Kaufman, Whaley, Branning, Fillingane, England, Hill, Suber, Barrett, McCon, Thompson, Sojourner, Boyd, Parker, Moran, Simmons D, Butler, K, Blackwell, DeBar, Harkins, no. Seymour, Frazier, Thomas, Norwood, Barnett, Kirby, Butler, A, Sparks, Chisholm, Hickman, anyone else? Jordan, anyone else? Mr. Clerk, am I missing anybody? Seeing none. One moment, please. Delano. Sir. Yes. Senator Delano, was that a no? Pass. Okay. One moment, please. Senator Simmons?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. President. Was this the amendment or was this the bill?
This was the bill.
To the vote,
All right?
I changed my vote from no to aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Thank you. To the vote.
I'll change my vote to aye.
Aye. Butler.
Mr. President, I changed my vote to aye.
Thomas.
President, I changed my vote from no to aye.
Norwood,
Mr. President, I changed my vote from no to aye, and I'm gonna stay in my seat.
anyone else desire to change their vote? Anyone else? Barnett? Barnett, no to aye. Butler, no to aye. Jordan, no to aye. Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay, Mr. Blue, one moment, please.
Okay, is there one of y'all's folks who wants to be?
With 28 noes, the bill fails. Senator Delano passed. Senator Delano passes on 91 and 92. Senator Simmons,
Mr. President, I'd like to hold that bill on the motion to reconsider.
motion to reconsider on 90, Senate Bill 2282 to the chairman.